Commonwealth Avenue, also known as the Killer Highway, is an 8 to 6 lane to 18 lane highway in Quezon City. For a highway to be so infamous, it actually hosted one of the first bike networks in the region. A 3-kilometer grade separated the bike lane was established in 2012, going from University Avenue to Tandang Sora. Since then, the bike network on the highway has been extended all the way to its end, resulting in a 13-kilometer bike lane. The question is, how bikeable is Commonwealth Avenue? Yeah, we're doing this again. I will bike the entirety of Commonwealth Avenue and back. A 36-kilometer ride going from the Quezon City Hall to the Quirino Highway. Is this killer highway bikeable, properly serving the tens of bikers forced to traverse through the highway? Or are we getting another case of just because there's a bike lane doesn't mean that it is bikeable? So some context, I haven't been biking since the EDSA video, which was 2 months ago, so I wasn't really too excited for this trip, but I was still down to do this challenge. Despite the highway's width, there are still a lot of choke points for the bike lane, mainly due to public vehicles in major intersections, including the entrance to the University of the Philippines. It's also worth noting that the bike network on the highway is two-way, so you'll often face other bikes traveling towards you. I mean, would you expect them to do a U-turn and go to the opposite way? While there were a few inclines, the journey has been genuinely smooth for me. Maybe because I already biked in this area before. But as I was approaching C5 Road, the camera started dying. So I had to continue the journey while charging my camera on a power bank. I charged the camera up to Don Antonio Station, which, to be honest, you guys didn't miss out on much. I didn't really experience any problems until heading to the Sandiganbayan, where I had to go more in-lane, which wasn't that bad if you keep looking back and see no car going super speed behind you. The climb to LITEX was the real problem. The bike lane had practically become a pedestrian lane due to the current MRT7 construction and also parked cars, forcing me to go to the motorcycle lane and almost hit this taxi. Traffic began piling up near Dona Carmen due to the highway going to 8 lanes and the frequency of stoplights. More annoyingly, it was on an incline. To be honest, something is calming on this part of the highway. The climbs, however, were not calming one bit. We're at the last climb. Straight ahead is the end of the highway. However, I checked the time and I fucked up. It was way past in the afternoon than I expected, and considering that I had to go to the highway again, fearing nighttime, I decided to go home. I'm pretty bummed out that I didn't get to the end, and I apologize that the conclusion of the challenge was incomplete. But considering that I'd rather walk to the end, I might as well just leave at this point. I didn't really bother recording since I was gonna go home anyway, and thank God I did not, because the trip back home was fucking hell. It's pretty much a combination of the hellscape, which is southbound the Commonwealth, and my immense skill issue. The amount of ups and downs on the highway made my legs want to fucking die. Also, the bike lane is purely non-existent as large chunks of the highway have become parking, and I was still relatively far away from home. Thankfully, rush hour traffic wasn't that bad and I got home safe and sound. But it's pretty telling that you guys are not gonna get any biking content anytime soon. Now the question is Commonwealth Avenue bikeable? To answer this question, let's divide the Commonwealth Avenue into 4 sections. Section 1 from Elliptical Road to Don Antonio, Section 2 from Don Antonio to Dona Carmen, Section 3 from Dona Carmen to Regalado Highway, and Section 4 from Regalado Highway to LITEX, based on 3 criteria: road infrastructure, obstacles, and bikeability. In terms of road infrastructure, Section 1 is the smoothest due to the pavement being recently worked on, only comparable to Section 4. In terms of obstacles and bikeability, Section 1 wins by a long shot. Not only by the grade separated and grade 2 two-way bike lanes, but also by its lack of obstacles apart from major intersections. Elevation is also its tamest in this part of the highway. Because of this, Section 1 of the highway gets a 7 out of 10. Now in terms of the worst obstacles and bikeability, Section 2 takes the cake. Not only due to the ongoing MRT7 construction, major intersections, and parked vehicles, but also because of its heavy commercial power, making the bike lane non-existent in most cases. Road infrastructure is old but still relatively smooth, but the elevation just makes biking hell in this area. Section 2 gets a 4 out of 10. Section 3 is by far the worst section of the highway. Traffic, inclines, and the ongoing MRT7 construction made biking unbearable as you are competing with motorcycles, vehicles, and pedestrians for the right of way. If you want to challenge yourself, this section of the highway is a good area to practice the worst of Philippine biking. But yeah, I would avoid biking in this section, which gets a 3 out of 10. Finally, Section 4. Its main drawback is its geography. The grade 3 bike infrastructure gets saved by the fact that there isn't really much going on in this area. However, in comparison with the 2 other sections, this one ain't that bad to be honest. Section 4 gets 5 out of 10. If I have to be honest, I just do not recommend biking on Commonwealth Avenue at all. It is nerve-wracking. It is wide, it's fucking dangerous. There is a reason why the highway is dubbed the killer highway. The nature of the highway is to go fast. So when you're forced to go deep into the 18-lane highway, a few painted lines won't stop any harmful factors. However, comparing it with EDSA, Commonwealth Avenue is slightly more bikeable due to its geography and lack of roadside attractions, with the highway mostly being residential. Despite that, the nature of speeding makes biking more dangerous. That's just my perspective as a casual cyclist. Along the journey, I've come across cyclists who depend on this highway and have adapted to it. Considering that they even have the infrastructure to exist on the highway is commendable, but it can be better. The LGU has pretty much been doing this, and it's quite evident at some points, especially at the bus stations. There are still some glaring issues that are bound to be addressed, but I'm glad that the government is considering bike infrastructure, even if it is one step at a time.